Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Atheneaum Spotlight. With me is Guy McLain from the Westfield Atheneum, and I'm Mark Auerbach. And here we are for another chat about what's going on at the Atheneum. And later on in the program, we'll get to talk about art at UMass. How are you, Guy?
Very good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm sorry we're not in the studio today, but it's a beautiful day out there. And maybe after we get off the air, we can, wherever we are, go outside and enjoy Indian summer.
Boy, yes, it is nice to have some Indian summer weather right now. It's always when it's November, it's always nice to have temperatures above 60 degrees.
That's for sure. Now, aren't you getting ready to go on a vacation pretty soon?
I am. I haven't decided. I'm thinking about going to Europe, but I haven't decided exactly where. I'm considering a couple of spots. And if I don't do that, I'll hang out somewhere in the United States. But I want to get out and explore the world a little bit. Haven't done that very much lately, so it's time to do so.
That's kind of leaving the slate open for a lot of possibilities. What's on your wish list for a trip?
Well, if I go to Europe, one of the places I'm looking at is Vienna. I always really enjoy going to Vienna because in Vienna, there is a concert or an opera every night. You can find great music. There are three wonderful symphonies. Of course, the famous Vienna Philharmonic, but there are two other symphonies that are just extraordinary in Vienna. I've heard all three of them, and they're all great. Then you have three opera houses as well. You have the one of the most famous opera houses in the world, the Vienna State Opera, but you also have the Vienna Folks Opera, with it does everything from Verdi and Puccini, standard operas to operettas to Broadway musicals. So that's very good. And then you have the Music on der Wein there, and a third opera house that's famous because Mozart's the Magic Flute, the opera by Mozart, the Magic Flute, was premiered there at that opera house. So that's really great. And then for classical music, for symphonies and chamber music, you have the Music of on der Wein, which is really a wonderful place to hear classical music. So that's one place I'm looking at. But there are so many spots in Europe that are great. I haven't made my final decision.
Well, if you go to Vienna, you'll have to get on the train and go down to Bratislava, which is about 40 minutes away, and go visit Maestro Kevin Rhodes.
That's right. Yeah, Kevin is doing, and Bratislava is very, very close to Vienna. In fact, one time I was taking a taxi in Vienna, and the taxi driver lived in Bratislava. He commuted from Bratislava into Vienna to work. So yeah, I mean, Bratislava is basically a suburb of Vienna, and a really nice city itself. Also, too, Budapest is only about an hour and a half train ride away, and Budapest is a beautiful city with wonderful concerts and operas and museums as well.
Well, that sounds like a good thing. And if you were to go elsewhere in the world, you don't picture yourself on an island somewhere like in the Maldives or uh, Tahiti or New Caledonia or Samoa or something like that.
No, I tend to not do that. I have to say, I tend to try to find a European city is kind of my preference. But I do sometimes it's great. Like southern Germany is wonderful. The Black Forest region. If you want to get away from it all, the thing that's nice about southern Germany or Austria, in this case. Vienna is in the eastern part of Austria. The western part, you can get up into the mountains. So you can find seclusion there, but then you can quite easily, an hour, 2 hours away, there's a great city with a great opera house or a great symphony hall to go to. So you can combine both. So sometimes I'll do that. Zurich is another wonderful city, and it's very easy to get up into the Alps, up into the mountains, to find some kind of secluded place to get away too. So that's usually what I do when I want to get away from it all. I find some place in the Black Forest or in Western Austria to go to, and then that way I can make it to a city for opera.
Well, maybe we could do an Atheneum spotlight while you're away. And with the beauty of Zoom, like we're both doing today, you could be at some cafe in Vienna with that Sacher and a nice Viennese coffee. And, we could see the Opera House behind you and all of that good stuff.
I like that idea. That sounds like a great idea. I love to stay in a hotel just a few blocks away from the State Opera House, and there's a wonderful little restaurant that's very near the Vienna State Opera. That would be great. I could set up the camera in a way where you could see the State Opera behind it. That would be wonderful. I would love that. Yeah.
And I'll just to keep it local, I'll do it from my pool in Long Meadow.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay,
That way,
does
that'd
that
be
work?
great. Yeah. I like that
So,
idea.
so
Yeah.
what's new and exciting at the Athenaeum? I know that we on November 17th, we're announcing the uh, Moso concerts at the Athenaeum. There's a trio of those, which I've helped program, and I'm really excited about those, but we probably shouldn't give the details away at this point, other than to say, I think they're hiding somewhere on Moso's website for the real curious folks. But what else is happening at the Athenaeum these days?
Well, yes, and just to say a couple of words about the Moso concerts coming up. Even though we'll announce a lot more later on, but I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great lineup. It's the three concerts are going to have a lot of variation in them. I think it's going to be a very enjoyable experience. And I love, the Lang Auditorium that we have here at the Athenaeum is a wonderful place to hear chamber music. It's just intimate enough. It's not too large. The acoustics are wonderful. The musicians love to perform in it because the acoustics are so good and they can make such a nice connection to the audience. I think that's going to be really nice. So I'm really looking forward to that. And people can just kind of put on their calendars and schedule that February, March, and April, one in each month, we're going to have a really nice concert here at the Athenaeum. But other things going on right now, we have a wonderful art exhibit going on. This will fit nicely with our program in the second half today. We have the art of Frank Cressati, who is a Westfield native. He made a very interesting statement that just inspired me. He said that when he was about 9 years old, he thinks he was in the third grade. The first time he ever saw an actual real painting was in the Athenaeum, in the gallery here at the Athenaeum, and that inspired him to become an artist. And that just makes me feel really great that this gallery here at the Athenaeum could, a young boy walking into the library to, probably to check out a book or something, and he sees art in the gallery, and that inspired him to become an artist. I hope the gallery shows we're doing now will inspire a young person today to maybe consider pursuing a career in art themselves. The next Picasso may be in the school systems of Westfield right now. And I hope we can encourage students like that. So, but to take on the story, to say a little bit more about Frank Cressati, he then later on went to Gettysburg College in Pennsylvania, studied art. This was the early 60s, came back to Western Mass and was an art teacher here for more than 4 decades. And so this particular exhibit is showing a lot of his recent work, which I think people will really enjoy seeing. So I hope everyone comes in and takes a look at that exhibit. We also have our annual holiday party, our wine tasting planned for December 2nd, Friday, December 2nd. Everybody should put that on their calendar. It's a great event, lots of fun. And we'll have live music. We'll have all kinds of other activities going on, but the best thing about that is it's the best holiday party in Westfield, and so you got to come and be a part of the action, and you can come and see Frank Cressati's exhibit as well at the same time.
So where do people find out? I mean, they should know by now, but where do people find out about all the things going on at the Athenaeum?
Well, I say best thing to do is check out our website and check it out often because we have so many programs going on at any one time. And the website, the address is very simple, westath.org, WESTATH, short for Atheneum, .org. We always list all the programs there. It's very easy to just find out what's going on. It's very, my feeling is I've heard so many people say, I heard that you had this program. I missed it. I didn't see any publicity on it. And I said, well, did you check our website? Because we had it up on our website for more than a month, advertising it. And I think that's something it's very easy for people to do. And it's a great way for people to just find out what's going on. And also too, we have a great publication that we put out on the website each month called Wowberry. And what this does is this programming list activities, the different programs that we have going on. It also lists new books that are coming out and gives little descriptions of each of the books. So if people are looking for a good novel or a good biography or something, Wowberry is a great source, and you can sign up for that, and it's delivered to your email on a weekly basis. And that's another good way to keep track of what's going on here at the Atheneum and take advantage of our programs.
How many people wander through the Atheneum on any given day?
It's really amazing. We keep track of the number of people coming in. And last year, we had 117,000 people walk through the door of the Atheneum, which if you divide that by the number of days we're open each year, it comes to almost about 400. We average about 400 people a day walking into the Atheneum for all kinds of things. And the thing about it is, a lot of people think, well, it's just a place to go, to go check out a novel or maybe, get some information. But there's so much going on. There's, clubs meet here, nonprofit groups meet here. Of course, we have the art gallery. We also have the history museum that just opened in September. And if people haven't seen that, they really should come in and see the new exhibits that we put together. What we did is we renovated the Read Room, which room it's on the main floor of the library, very near the front door. We completely renovated the room. We added new exhibit cases and put in a brand new exhibit on the history of Westfield from the founding of the city in 1669 all the way up to the present day. We also have as part of that presentation, we have a wonderful changing exhibit display as well. And the exhibit we have right now is on the Roaring 20s, Westfield in the Roaring 20s. That's a wonderful exhibit. We have several dresses and purses and accessories that women wore in the 1920s. And these dresses were owned and worn by women from Westfield 100 years ago. So that's also another very interesting exhibit. Then we tricked it out a little bit with sheet music of the time, yearbooks, from Westfield schools in that time. It's really kind of a nostalgic look back at a wonderful era in Westfield's history. So we've got history, art, then library services. We've got a little bit of everything here at the Atheneum.
Well, Guy, we're going to take a quick break to acknowledge our underwriters, and we'll be back with more Atheneum Spotlight. And in the second half of the program, we're going to go up to UMass and learn about one of the galleries there, museums that is really a milestone. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach here with Guy McLain, and we'll be back after these announcements, so don't go away.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Atheneaum Spotlight, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach here with Guy McLain. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. If you've missed a part of today's program or you want to watch it again or share it with friends, it's archived on WSKB Community Radio's YouTube page, along with all of the other Atheneaum Spotlight programs that we've done over probably the last year and a half, Guy. I mean, I was in there the other day looking at some of the old things. Pretty soon, we'll be able to have our own exhibition at the Atheneaum, a kind of a multimedia thing, and they can hear what we chatted about a year and a half ago.
Yeah. That's one of the things wonderful about the new technology now, that everything is on YouTube. It's great to be able to go back and see some of these earlier videos. That, some of the interviews we've done over the last year and a half have been amazing. Various people in the area of artists, people doing creative things with opera, with Broadway musicals and things. I mean, it's amazing the range of people we've interviewed in the last year and had interesting discussions with. I mean, and it just shows you the range of resources available in Western Mass. There are so many wonderful performing arts groups, museums, so much activity like that in the arts here in Western Mass that it's really great. And hopefully we'll get to many more great artists and great people involved with the museums in the region.
But the thing I was thinking about, Guy, you have a history museum there, and you're capturing the history of Westfield from its early days, and you have all these artifacts. And now with the wonders of technology that we have, somebody 30 or 40 years from now could go back and look at some of these programs that we've had on community radio and TV here and really get a pulse of what people were thinking about, what was happening in the arts, what our philosophies were. And it's a new way of preserving our cultural presence for down the road.
Yes, that's very, that's very true. And also too, one of the things that's very interesting with my background in history, something that I'm very aware of is history. The interpretation of history is always changing. History is not a static thing. It's not something that it's set in stone, so to speak. Artifacts that have been in the collection of the Westfield Atheneum for 100 years can be reinterpreted and seen in a new light. And that's something that we're doing today. This new exhibit is very much an updating and a new interpretation of many artifacts that we've had in the collection for quite some time. And another thing that we're doing that ties into the technology that we here are using right now is we are doing what's called history bites, little 4 or 5 minute segments filmed where we take an individual artifact, just one artifact from the collection, and talk about it and interpret it, give it meaning and context for modern viewers. And then we put those up on our website. We put those up on YouTube. Those are also available on YouTube, just like this program is. And so, many years from now, people will be able to come onto whatever internet sources people are using at that time, whether it's YouTube or some descendant of YouTube, and see our programs and see our history bites. We're starting to film our lectures when we give history lectures. We're also, with our artists, when we have art exhibits, we're putting together films. Many times we are visiting the studio, like the artist we had in the Atheneum just prior to Frank Crissati's exhibit was Laura Radwell. We went to her studio and filmed an interview with her in her studio. And so that's a great historical record, as well as a record for us today in terms of what's going on with the arts. So I think the new technology we can really use in a variety of ways.
You referenced the idea that history reinterprets and changes. It's been on my mind. I mean, I know that you were instrumental in opening the Holocaust Museum in Houston. And on a program I did, not last week, but the week prior, I had a gentleman who helped a Holocaust survivor author her story. And she's probably 90 years old, and to tell her story of the Holocaust. And we have this huge rise in anti-Semitism right now in this country, and hate crimes and everything else. You would think that people could go back and learn something from the Holocaust Museum that you started, that history does repeat itself unless we make an effort to change. So, here we are, a repository of good things and bad things that happened in Westfield over the centuries that we should be able to, as people, learn from, so we don't make the same mistakes again.
Yes, and that was something that when I was in Houston, the Holocaust Museum there, that was just being started at this time. This was the mid 1990s, and the museum was just getting off the ground. And one of the things that we were dedicated to then was not simply just telling this historical story, but putting it into the context of the modern era in American society. One of the issues that was starting to become a big issue in the school systems in Houston about the time the museum opened was bullying, and how people, many times kids, for whatever reason, who were somehow thought of as different in some way, were many times bullied. And so the Holocaust Museum took that on as a theme, and used the story of the Holocaust, how people were mistreated, different groups were mistreated by the Nazis in Germany, the 1930s and 1940s, and how that can translate to things going on in the United States today. And boy, that story continues to resonate in American society now, and maybe even more so today than it did in the 1990s when we first started that museum. But yes, in telling stories of the people who experienced it, that you referenced someone you interviewed who was in the 90s. One of the projects I worked on at the Houston Holocaust Museum in the 90s was the oral history interviews. Some of the best material we had were simply people who had gone through the Holocaust, were living in the Houston area at this time. Many of them were in their 80s and 90s. At that time, and they were interviewed. We would do these hour and a half, even 2 hour long interviews, and their stories were just so incredible, so touching. And we did over 100 oral history interviews with Holocaust survivors. And I think those are some of the most important documents we made in the early days of that museum. Still very, very relevant today. And I hope that more and more of these stories can be recorded for posterity, for future historians.
Yeah, for sure. Let's take a break to acknowledge our underwriters. And when we come back, we're going to be going up to the University of Massachusetts. But before we do, Guy, for the holiday season, any major events that you want to promote that are happening at the Atheneaum?
Well, again, the event of the season for us is our wine tasting on December 2nd. And anyone who wants to attend that event, the best holiday party in Westfield, they could come by the Atheneaum, go to the circulation desk. You can pick up a ticket there, or you can order your ticket online. So you can just go to our website, and there's a little button there that you can click on and fill in the information. You kind of do a PayPal type of thing and get your ticket to the party. And so you can join us for some wonderful wine and other entertaining activities.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more Atheneum Spotlight, so don't go away.
Support for community radio
on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Join me, Tina Gorman, each week from 6 to 8 a.m. for Wake Up Wednesday, when my guests and I discuss health, wellness, and lifestyle reimagined.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Atheneaum Spotlight, everyone. I'm your co-host, Mark Auerbach, and we're here with Guy McLain, who's the director of the Westfield Atheneaum. And as promised, we're going up to the University of Massachusetts. You know about the arts scene at UMass because we have people from the Fine Arts Center here all the time, and they have a great series of music and dance and all of that. But today we have Loretta Yarlow from the museums at the Fine Arts Center. There is so much going on in the visual arts world, and Loretta's here to talk about it. And welcome to Atheneaum Spotlight, Loretta. Can you hear us? Did we lose her?
Here I am. Hello, everybody. Are you there?
I hear you. Can you hear us, Loretta?
Yes, I can. Goodness gracious, we've done it. I hope.
After the tech gnomes that were left over from Halloween in our system have gone through, here you are. Well, first of all, if you could just tell us a little bit about your role at UMass and how you got there.
How I got here? Well, believe it or not, 17 years ago in 2005, I arrived from other museum directorships, but I was very attracted to a university museum. And so I am director and chief curator and have been overseeing this wonderful, it's both a teaching museum and a civic museum. We are a meeting place for all the communities that we serve. And I'm really thrilled to be here. Having served in other museums, I think it's just a great opportunity to work with a collection and to bring in contemporary art to our, on a global level, to bring it all to our doorstep here in Western Massachusetts. So 17 years, and I'm loving every moment of it.
I know the museum goes way back prior to your arrival, but was it as robust in terms of exhibition and programs before you got here, or were you charged with building a lot of the programs that exist today?
Oh, well, no. I mean, since the collection began in 1962, the museum was opened as a university gallery in 1975. But you know, there were many important exhibitions that took place, and that's why I was attracted to this museum, because it has this legacy to begin with. Some of the most important artists of our time had exhibitions here, but what I was eager and am still eager to build upon that foundation to continue bringing in artists of our time. But my goal has been to really grow the collection and to get this amazing collection out from storage. And I've hired some wonderful people. I have a great staff. I have an education curator, a collection manager, who work with me tirelessly to bring the collection out for students to see, the public to see. And so that's been my goal, to really build this important collection. It's the only contemporary works of art on paper between, I like to say, between Boston and the Berkshires. So, and it's a public collection. So this is my awakening moment to realize that we have to, and hopefully an awakening moment for everyone to realize this collection is owned by you and me. It's, as a public university, it's a public collection. So that's my goal.
And how many people come to the museum over the course of a year, and where do they come from?
Oh, interesting question. Well, we serve local, regional, national, international. So over the year, on a good year without any interruptions with these unfortunate pandemics, we get anywhere from 9 to 10,000 people, which connect. Sort of comparing it to some of the larger museums, that's not much, but it is wonderful for a somewhat hidden away museum. We're in the Fine Arts Center, lower level, and we do get a nice cross section of public. We also have online programs, so we could reach people who can't even make it to the museum. You can explore our collection, you can explore exhibitions, videos. So that's been another one of my goals. We're both a real museum and we're a virtual museum. So how do we look at the numbers of people who go on our website? I mean, thousands, really. So that's our that's our mission, to serve all of these people, and to get people through the door, but also to get people to look at what we have on our website.
And how did you get involved at become a museum administrator? What drew you to the arts, and were you a painter or a sculptor or a craftsperson before you got into museum management, or were you a manager who just liked the arts?
No, I have a background in art history, but a graduate degree as well. But I have to say, it's been through internships. Having worked at other museums in my student years, that's what just opened my eyes. I realized this was a career for me, and that's the goal that I want to have for students at UMass and the 5 colleges. They could do internships. So for me, it was it's an art history background, but I have to say I also took courses in painting, sculpture, printmaking. So I know the process, and that's, for me, it's been important to know how you create the art, but then how do you talk about it and appreciate it and curate it. So my real excitement really was through my early years as an intern, working up the ladder, and that's how I see the opportunities that we offer as well for younger students to get into the field.
Guy, I interrupted you when you were going to ask a question.
Well, I was very interested in both the collection. I took note of some of the artists that you have in the collection. I was amazed because I've gone to the museum many, many times, seen the exhibits there, but I'm glad that you're pulling out some of the works that you have already in the collection and putting that together, because boy, I was looking at the list. Jasper Johns, Donald Judd, Kara Walker. These are really very interesting, a very interesting group of artists, and I'm excited to see those on display. Is this new exhibit? Are you trying to just do an overview of this, or is there a particular theme that you're pulling out with these artists from the permanent collection?
Well, you have singled out some of my absolute favorites, but it's not. The exhibition is really not about my curatorial vision, although in some ways it is. I really wanted to pull out as many works of art as I could. It's the entire exhibition, the entire space. All 4 of our rooms are devoted. Exhibition spaces are devoted to this collection. So it's the tip of the iceberg. 115 works on view, but we have 3,800 in our collection. So about 2 years ago, I realized, well, we have an anniversary to celebrate. How do I do it? So I guess I did think about what would be my vision. So I created within one exhibition 8 smaller sort of punctuations, 8 smaller exhibitions within the larger context. So it is somewhat chronological, but I also have a section called Art and Politics. That room contains work by Kara Walker, who you just mentioned, and other artists who have this vision to talk about, the politics of our time through their artistic vision. You pointed out Donald Judd. His work is in our section called Minimal and Conceptual Art, among other of his peers. You mentioned Jasper Johns. That's where the exhibition starts, with the pop art, the pop artists who were given to us in the 60s. And of course, Andy Warhol appears just about everywhere in the pop art section. Believe it or not, he has something where he delved into the politics of his time. And then I created another exhibition space for the photography. We have amazing history of photography from contemporary, that is, from the 50s right through today. And so the three smaller areas within photography, I have landscape, I have people and places, and then the more sort of early 50s with, again, Andy Warhol, Diane Arbus. So really the idea was to get people to come back again and again. And you can see this all on our website, by the way. But to have people just spend time with each section and to whet the appetite and to make sure that we can continue to share the collection and of course care for it. So as our collection grows, where do we store it? How do we take care of it? All of these big questions I wanted to bring to public attention. Yeah, 2 years in the making to prepare it, raise money for it, get the frames, all that stuff. But it's very exciting. We're thrilled to have it on view right through May 15th. Well,
And
14th.
because this is a university collection, have you been using students, students maybe studying art or art history to be a part of the curatorial process, or is this something that you're using? Are you curating yourself, or are you using outside curators?
No, well, for this particular exhibition, it was I went through with my staff the collection very carefully and decided what we could bring out in our limited. I mean, 2 years is actually a limited time to get the funding and for the framing and all. But no, we have what we call student educators. We teach a course. My education curator teaches a course where we have students who we used to call them docents, but they're our tour guides. They have been finding ways within this exhibition to give tours. So every Saturday, right through December 3rd, we have students who give tours of the exhibition on different themes, ancient myth and contemporary art, conversations and reflections on politics and community. So each student has found a way to take one theme from this exhibition. We also work with students. We have a wonderful donor who has given us money to purchase a work of art each year, and so we have students involved in helping us make that selection. They're involved in the behind-the-scenes decision making as to what we buy, how we buy it, and what fits into the collection. So yes, absolutely, we work with definitely with students. The faculty have been coming in over 100 a day to bring their classes. And we do work with guest curators, and we will continue to do that. With this exhibition, it was really driven by making sure our collection is studied and interpreted, and new ideas come out once the art is on view. So to answer your question, we do work with curators, but for this project, we use our student curators to be the behind the scenes, backup for all our education programming.
Loretta, where do you store all the art that's not on exhibition?
Oh my gosh, want to come on a tour for that one day? Well, we have various storage rooms across campus. Our goal is to bring them all under one roof, and we're fundraising for that. We hope we'll be able to do this very soon. But in the meantime, we have one primary storage room that's right within our building, and of course we adhere to all museum standards. But we're bursting at the seams. Can you imagine 3,800 works? And although works of art on paper, we don't have large scale sculpture or painting, but nonetheless, we have to be very adhere to all museum standards and practices with regard to safe and archival storage. Again, one major area where we have them stored, and then a few other locations across campus.
I understand this problem very well. We here at the Westfield Atheneum, with our both history artifacts and our paintings, our art, we have quite an extensive collection of art.
Oh, yes.
We're near 3,800 pieces. But boy, storage and trying to make sure that climate conditions are appropriate for artworks is a constant problem for us as well. So I feel your pain there. That's a real difficulty. Yeah.
And what a museum you're just talking about now. One of the greats in New England. Absolutely. I followed your programming so often. What we're facing in a microcosm is what every museum faces everywhere, no matter what their size. And we are a collecting museum. It's not a. There are non-collecting museums, but we really believe this is part of our legacy. And so, hopefully, out of every temporary exhibition, we can acquire a work by those artists, so that becomes part of our history as well.
Yeah, a question that I had for you, Loretta, with the pandemic and UMass was had to close and shut down and then come back remotely and things like that. Did the pandemic hinder what you did, or did it give you an opportunity to explore new ways to produce programming for your audience?
Oh, it's so interesting you asked that, Mark, because I absolutely, this became, it was an unfortunate turn of events. What can we say? Truly, we had to close down for a year and a half, maybe. Well, I guess it was a year and a half. But what we did do was have live chats with artists. We had these where anyone around the world could be part of this conversation. We brought in artists, we brought in guest speakers, and it gave people the opportunity to be a part of this conversation. And they submitted questions. They were live. We had a live audience. Virtual live audience. And so the virtual programming we found so successful that we are going to continue it. And so, we're now more in a hybrid situation with our programming where we can do both live events but also live stream. So, it was a learning moment. An unfortunate one for many museums, the world. But we did have to close. But we kept up the virtual events, and we even did tours. We had to close our doors, but we had art on the wall. We had an exhibition of Alison Sarr, amazing Black artists from the West Coast. So we brought the exhibition in. But what we did was do a virtual tours, so people could sign up. School groups signed up. That was another. Oh my gosh, that was another opportunity, because school groups sometimes can't get the buses to come in. So they were able to stay in their classroom, remain masked, and go through a tour of our exhibitions with our education curator on the screen. And believe it or not, this is continuing. I just got a call the other day from the Ludlow Public School, elementary school. They want to do a virtual tour. So yeah, it's a whole other avenue that's opened up to us. Wish we had more staff to keep all that going, because we have in-person tours and we have these virtual tours that are being asked for. So yeah, this was an interesting moment in the history of museums.
I think for everybody, because I know, my primary field is theater. And during the pandemic, when theater companies were streaming their productions, I got to see productions from all over the country that I would never have gone to. And so I know that, for example, on my next trip to such and such a city, I want to see that theater. And I would think that in the world of visual arts, now that people know from having seen a Zoom presentation or an online presentation that you have this marvelous museum in Amherst, Massachusetts, that people that have never ventured up to UMass will want to go there to see it.
Yes, I'm in your camp as well, because my husband and I we go to virtual theater events now, and the performing arts is as if we're right on the stage, and so that's what we have brought better attention to our museum. And through the virtual, where you are right there with the artists and the guest speakers, but then nothing replaces being in front of a work of art. I myself, we just took a group of students to Boston to look at art, and just the relief to be with an art object, to be within a museum, to see art that it just doesn't convey. On a screen, it doesn't convey the meaning of the art, all the qualities. So nothing replaces the live event, the live visit to a museum. That's our hope, that people will discover us however possible, perhaps through our website, through virtual events, to make the trip here. It's well worth it. And of course, we're not the only museum in Amherst. There's so many other museums, and we're part of an organization called Museums 10. There are 10 museums right here within a 20-mile radius. And I want to put a plug in for an artist from Westfield. Not only in our exhibition, 60 Years of Collecting, do we have artists that you just mentioned of such fame. But Ima Ime, who is professor of art history at Westfield State University, we have an extraordinary work of his in our section called Art and Politics. So this is where we weave together, the art, the local, the regional, local, national, and international, all in one museum.
I'm glad you mentioned Imo Ime. We are here at the Atheneum. We are currently talking to him about the possibility of doing an exhibit of his works here, and also a residency program with some of his students coming in and working with an exhibit. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing. There are great artists in Western Massachusetts, and you identified one that I think is one of the most interesting artist working today, and he's right here in Western Mass. So I'm glad to see that you have some regional artists as well.
Right. I'm thrilled to hear that he's possibly going to be involved in the Atheneaum. Yes, a fine artist, fine person, a scholar. He also had offered us, he was one of our scholars in residence when we did an exhibition of African art and bringing it up to contemporary. So yeah, the local art scene is really vibrant. Entire New England vibrant art scene. So we're happy to be a part of that as a contemporary art museum. We're dedicated to connecting our artists. Next week we're bringing in artists from San Francisco who is in our exhibition with local artist Olivia Bernard. So this is where we also bring the artists in touch with each other. That's another role we play, where we can bring in artists of a national level if we get the funding, and we did, to bring in Mary Ejiki, an artist from San Francisco, who is going to be speaking next week, doing a walkthrough with Olivia Bernard. So yet another thing that we try to do, connect artist to artist. And that series is actually called Artists on Artists, where we have the artists speak about other artists' work. So that's, I'm just realizing now that's another important role we play. We're sort of the matchmaker, not only for students, but also for artists to meet other artists.
Well, and that's
Loretta,
one.
let me just interrupt here. Loretta, give us the website where people can go to learn more about the museum and its hours and all of that.
Right. Well, if you go to www.umass.edu/UMCA, which is the acronym for University Museum of Contemporary Art, so www.umass.edu/UMCA, you can go to our homepage, and the hours would be listed. So it's Tuesday through Sunday. Tuesday through Friday, it's 11 to 4:30, and weekends, Saturday and Sunday from noon to 4. And on our website, you could get our collection database. All the exhibitions are very detailed with links to videos and speaker series. So yes, that's a good place to begin to get to know the museum and our mission through our website, and then hopefully it'll really spark excitement to come visit us.
Okay, I interrupted you again, guys. So you were asking a question.
Well, we were just talking about internships and bringing in artists and things like this. That's one of the things that we are realizing here. It seems like you're doing the same thing. We're realizing here that rather than just doing an exhibit, bring an artist in and have an exhibit of their work, that it's important to bring in students to do interviews that can be put on YouTube or put on the internet, on our website or something. I think this is an area that it seems very important, and it seems like to me it's a very good way to reach out to communities and get people to come in. I think one of the things I've experienced is many people feel uncomfortable, or it seems like something they just don't normally think about doing is going to an art museum. And it seems like the technological resources we have available allow us to reach out to the community in a new way. And hopefully, because the other point you made I thought was really good, is that there's nothing like seeing the actual art. And so I think I applaud your effort to do that. And one of the questions I ask is, when you're working with students, do you ever reach out into the community? Because, for instance, we're trying to establish a residency program with the art students at Westfield State. are you reaching out and having students go out and work with art galleries and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. We're training some of our students. These are not our docents, but another group of students. We're working with them, and we started actually a couple of years ago to work with an upward bound program that is run by UMass, where these students we train them to talk about our UMass students go to the public high schools in Springfield, where those students could become the next interested artist or museum goer. So that's a connection we make between where our students are trained to go out as kind of ambassadors to our collection, our exhibition, to work with these students, either by making, and usually it's through a virtual visit, and then we try to bring the students into our site. We have helped sponsor students to do internships at other museums, a few of them at local galleries. Usually they take the initiative on their own. They do the work to find these internships, and we support them in whatever way we can. Maybe we should start looking at the ones with Atheneaum as an internship for some of our great students. But
we're going to have to talk. We're going to have to talk about this because maybe there's a possibility for an internship here at the Atheneaum. We'd love to have students here because I'm always looking for opportunities engaging students here. So maybe we're going to have to talk about that some.
Oh, how exciting! I would love to talk to you about it. We're such an amazing group of students that we could, and not just art history students. It's interesting that students are coming to us for internships from history, from journalism, I even have a student. I'm just looking at. Because I know that they're giving a tour this coming week in public history. I guess that's her background. So creative writing, English. So it's interesting that students who are interested in the contemporary art field, not just contemporary, I should say all the arts, they see this as a multidisciplinary kind of activity for them. I'm trained as an art historian, but I think that today it's important to have that background, but you can have other connections through your studies that can bring that can enliven your conversation and your studies when you bring that to bear on what you're doing at a museum.
Well, folks, we're out of time, but Loretta, thank you so much for joining us today. Sorry about the technical glitches at the beginning of the program.
No, it might be my old computer, and I'm not in my office, so it might have been a bad connection here. I'm thrilled.
Yeah, well, I hope that everybody will get next time that they're up at UMass Amherst. Here's a wonderful resource for you. It's at the Fine Arts Center, easy to get to and find. And Loretta, thanks for being with us today. And Guy, thanks as always for being the taking the lead role at the Atheneaum Spotlight. And we'll be back with Atheneaum Spotlight in a couple of weeks on Wednesday. Otherwise, on Wednesdays, you can catch at this time frame On the Mark. Peter Coles has been our chief engineer. If you want to share this program with friends, watch it again. It's archived on YouTube at WSKB Community Radio's YouTube page. So we'll see you soon on another Atheneaum Spotlight.
It's turkey time. Tom Turkey ran away, but he just came home. It's turkey time. He's really home to stay, never more to run.